Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So, back on the dual Eastern Spirit Hachiyo horse. And so, this one is actually a very unique fight where I actually collaborated with my oldest son, aka Jeff Morrison, and we kind of did some strategizing since we actually have very similar teams. And so, he will be putting up a fight of his in the next couple of days. However, he was just finishing up AS Hozuki's quest. And so the whole point here is we're going to use Pierce Zone and do two different targets, one with fire to kill off Kodama, one with water to kill off Moonfire. Bertrand is our tank here, and because he has the priority over Bear, we just basically stack the Rage onto Moonfire, being that every time we hit Moonfire with a physical attack, it'll counter with a physical attack as well. The damage is not too high only because we actually have, obviously he is a very high tanky unit and he can actually shield himself as well. Not only that, don't forget we cast Aurora Force on turn 1. Anyways, on turn 2, other than encounters, Kodama just summons some minions, and so no problem here. So we're going to activate a large AF on turn 3. Note that we actually have multiple debuffs on the enemies, so just to summarize here, Hozuki is going to be targeting Kodama since she's the only fire damage on our team. Everyone else is going to be targeting Moonfire, and Moonfire does have an HP stopper. Once we hit the 50% HP stopper, we'll just target the Kodama because even though it's resisted by water, you're still whittling down a little bit at a time. And we're going to cast that Alluring Arrow, which is the AF, well, her AF finisher, so to speak. And we clearly can kill off Kodama in one AF. And that's the most important thing. Killing off Kodama here, so we're only left with Moonfire. And once you hit the HP stopper, Moonfire counters with 2 hits that drain 100 MP each hit, but there's no real physical damage. And so at the end of the day, you should have enough MP to survive this fight. The whole point here is to get our tank back in play so that as soon as we start attacking and charge our bar, he can take the hits for us. Note that we got Bertrand to come in first with our fastest unit, and then we got Meryl to come in right after because her VC is in a mini Aurora Force of 35% elemental damage, which will still help against those elemental, kind of like a physical fire attack counters from Moonfire. At this point, we are just going to protect our team up front because it's just multiple turns of kind of physical fire attacks with counters. And so we are still attacking with our 3 units. And of course, Meryl is just there for support and healing. With Aurora Force and active, we are taking less damage. And again, if you don't have the Aurora Force up front, you might actually die. Even with Bertrand having a lot of HP, multiple counters, and having only AS4 and healing for 1800 is not necessarily that much. That being said, now that we have our half bar, we can end the fight right here and now. Half bar is actually more than enough given that we actually have 2 water DPS against this one. So the key is that AS Suzuki has to deal enough damage on her own to end off the Kodama in one large AF. And with half an AF and having some top tier water DPS pierce wise such as AS Hizmina, she does a ton of damage. And again, I will be doing a 5-star review of all my upgraded units in the coming days as time permits. That being said, of course, everyone knows about Stormbite with Claude being one of our best Pierce support units. I will say I didn't play AS Hizmina that well. I should have actually spammed the middle move since I already had 5 stacks. But that being said, still made it through after a little bit of tinkering around with this team. So yeah, I think alternate strategies could be a completely fire and water elemental team. But I did find that weapon zones are best to mix different elements together on the same team and finish off the boss. And so for our troubles and our struggles, we do get a Void Lance, which is really great. All these dual Hachiyo Eastern horrors are not only very difficult, but they do have some pretty good rewards as well. The 50 stones is not bad. The gold badge is just for bragging. However, the weapon itself is, again, the Void series is great. Type attack plus 20 and guarantee crit rate 100. So it really powers up your team. Now, in terms of the Grasta setup, note that we have Wisdom of Curses on AS Hismina. And I didn't mention this, but earlier on in the AF, on the very first AF, when we brought Moonfire down to the half HP stopper, we did have to cast High Magic down because we just didn't want to get hurt. And even though the attacks are primarily physical, any additional shielding is necessary to survive. And you can tinker around with your equipment and gear to make sure you increase the shielding on your team as well. And finally, we do have some enhanced Grasta, some of the newer Grasta, the Deadly Blow one on AS Hozuki. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.